Hello, I'm Todd Hall, President and CEO of TruLiant. As we mark our 70th anniversary in 2022, we reflect on a rich history that would not be possible without the support of the great city of Winston-Salem. From our humble beginnings in 1952 to the present, where we will soon serve over 300,000 members, hire our 1,000th employee, and exceed $4 billion in assets, to a future poised for continued growth. I am proud of the work we are doing together. TruLiant is grateful for and remains committed to Winston-Salem and all of Forsyth County.
Welcome to the Greater Conversations podcast. I'm Deetra Miller, the Director of Member Relations and Engagement at Greater Winston-Salem, Inc. We'll use this platform to showcase our local businesses, our community, and their stories. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Greater Conversations. I'm super excited to have here with us today Rob Boyce.
Yes.
Rob Boyce, the CEO of Plakous Therapeutics. And we also have here our amazing president of Greater Winston-Salem, Inc. He's co-hosting with me today, Mr. Mark Owens.
Hey, Deetra, it's excited to be here. Excited to talk with you, Rob.
Well, thanks very much. I'm excited to be here. Kind of flattered that you brought in the boss.
Hey, I'm here for all the scientific questions, and I'm completely joking. But no, Rob and I were getting to talk a little bit early and got to support some of the great awards that they've won recently that we're going to talk about. And and I think Plakous does a lot of cool stuff. We're happy that they're in Winston-Salem, so I'm excited to be a part of this one.
Very excited. And yeah, Mark is the boss, but he's also a big team player, team advocate. So it's exciting to be a part of that team and the culture he's created there. So, Rob, let's jump into Plakous Therapeutics. A lot of people that are listening may not have heard of it before. So will you tell everybody a little bit about what you do?
Sure. So Plakous was pulled together, founded in 2016 here in Winston-Salem. Dr. Scott Washburn, who's a local obstetrician gynecologist and entrepreneur, conceived of the idea of leveraging the human placenta after birth into its core constituents, if you will, the proteins that are there to develop a medicine. And there are a number of different indications or different diseases that we're going to go after with this. But the first one we're going after is a rare pediatric disease called necrotizing enterocolitis, or NEC, a disease that affects very premature babies, and babies born weighing less than 3 pounds that are between 22 and 30 weeks of age when they're born. And normal gestation for a baby is 40 weeks. So these babies are extremely premature and very vulnerable. And they get, after they're born, a small subset of them will get this necrotizing enterocolitis, which is a breakdown of their GI tract. And it's just not developed, and it can't absorb food, and it gets infected. And tragically, about a third of these babies will die. About 3,000 babies a year in the United States get the disease.
Wow. That's amazing. I was reading a story recently about, and you can talk about how rare this is as well in regard to the disease, but a 25-year-old grad student from Georgia, she recently got her master's degree from, I can't remember the university, I think Cambridge, actually.
Cambridge.
Yes.
Great story.
An amazing story. So just the fact that she has lived to be 25 going through all of this is amazing. So talk a little bit about what the mortality is again for folks that are listening. And
sure.
Yeah.
Babies in the United States every year, there are about 50,000 babies born that meet that criteria that I just talked about, less than 3 pounds when they were born and between 22 and 30 weeks. So of those 50,000, about 3,000 get this disease. And as I said, about 1,000 will die. And the 2,000 that live, this young woman that you referred to who went to New York University, graduate degree from Cambridge, is an amazing story because those babies that survive and live often have lifelong debilitating challenges, from short bowel syndrome, which means they have trouble gaining weight and they have a lifelong issues with their digestive tract, and a lot of neurological challenges that these babies have because of the link between the brain and the gut and a lot of the science that we're learning now about how those are affected. We believe that our treatment in these babies will actually have a beneficial effect not only on preventing this disease, but also staying off those neurological challenges and a lot of those other long-term ailments.
So, Rob, if I may ask, why this disease? Why was this disease the one that was targeted first? Is there a personal story involved that can be shared, or is there just evidence that the placenta and what Dr. Washburn has started fits with that? So, tell us about why this one disease is the target.
Sure. Interestingly, this was not our first choice when we started. The product actually is a phenomenal anti-inflammatory. And we believe that our long-term will have beneficial impact on multiple diseases of inflammation. And the most, the most significant one is osteoarthritis. And there's a massive need for a product for people with osteoarthritis. And we actually have good data to support osteoarthritis indication, but it's a very expensive pathway to market, and it's a very long path to market. And so when looking at alternatives, Scott came across NEC and said, hey, because our product actually looks like amniotic fluid, I think we could have an impact here. And what we're learning is that we do, in fact, have the ability to significantly reduce the impact of this disease. So really interesting. Osteoarthritis and NEC, but there are a lot of benefits to necrotizing enterocolitis. We've requested to the FDA, and they've given us a designation as an orphan drug and also a rare pediatric disease designation. And that combination actually provides us with a number of opportunities, market exclusivity once we get the product to market. It'll also give us an opportunity to have accelerated clinical review. And another really interesting component is an economist at Duke came up with this idea of a priority review voucher that became law back in 2006, which will allow us to have accelerated review of our product when we submit our clinical trial evidence to the FDA. And when we get our product approved, we'll actually get another voucher that allows us to have accelerated review for another product. And that product doesn't have to be an orphan drug. And in fact, we can sell that voucher. It's transferable. And the market value for those vouchers is $100 million. So when we get approval for a product for NEC, we can then sell this voucher for $100 million to another company that maybe has a heart disease medicine or a diabetes medicine. And they can get accelerated review because it may give them a leg up on competition, gives them more patent time in the market. And the benefit to us is an opportunity to invest in our osteoarthritis indication without having to go to the market for additional capital.
You mentioned pre-trials and clinicals. At what point will you guys actually be in the clinical phase for this?
If all goes well, we should be into human trials in the middle of 2024. So about 18 to 20 months from now.
That's exciting.
We will hopefully have the first opportunity to treat a baby. Between now and then, we've got some interactions with the FDA. We've got to finish some safety studies. We've got to go through our manufacturing process. But we feel very good about the data we're creating, that our manufacturing process is going to be repeatable and that we're not going to have issues with the safety of the product. As I said, it looks a lot like amniotic fluid when we reconstitute it. It's a powder protein, and when we put it, for babies, we'll put it in breast milk. For osteoarthritis, we'll probably put it in saline solution to inject. But once we get through and we can make that, we think it's going to be very safe and very effective.
So, Rob, if I may ask, and for those listening, that this is really scientific, but you're not a scientist by trade, right? So
I am not.
This is also a business. So can you share a little bit about how you got involved, but also when we're talking 18, 24 months, to some that may seem like a long way away, but what's that overall life cycle that we're talking about for this process?
Sure. Yes, I am not a scientist. I studied mathematics in college. I went into the Navy and flew airplanes, and then got a business degree and went to Johnson & Johnson. And so I kind of came up through life sciences on the marketing side. I started my career marketing Tylenol and then evolved from there. So certainly we've got a good core science team. We have 2 PhDs that one has a PhD in tissue engineering, and the other's a biomedical engineer. And as I mentioned, Dr. Scott Washburn on the medical side. But to be successful, you need balance in any organization. And so I'm balancing the team, if you will, on the business side and leveraging my experience there and my passion for healthcare and the life sciences. Anytime you can do something that can have a positive impact on people's lives, it just feels really good to be there. So that's kind of balancing, the team. And I found out about Plakous through one of our board members who's in Raleigh, Allison London Brown, and she and I were at Johnson & Johnson together. And as a board member, when the first data came out that said, hey, this could be something, the team, the founders, and the board said we need to balance out this team and make sure that it's not tilted too far to the science side. In order to be successful, you're really going to need to make sure you understand the market and are able to position the product. And that's when Allison reached out to me to recruit me. And I will tell you that I couldn't be happier to be here. When she recruited me, I lived in the suburbs of Philadelphia. And I took the role, but I stayed in Philadelphia because I wanted to make sure this was a success. I'd never been to Winston-Salem and made a few trips down. And I will tell you that being from the North and thinking about a life science company in North Carolina, it was my intention when I came full-time to move the company to Raleigh. I said, that's RTP is where life sciences are, and that's the core strength. And as I made several trips down here, I will tell you I kind of fell in love with Winston-Salem. And
How could you not? I mean,
I did, and there is a core thread of really top-notch talents in medicine, in the sciences here in Winston-Salem. And I said, we can be successful here. And my children have moved away, and we moved to Winston-Salem from the Philadelphia suburbs about 1.5 years ago and really love the area and couldn't be happier to be part of the ecosystem here in Winston.
Well, we're glad to have you. The Wake Forest gear you have on looks good on you here in studio, but also it's just really great to hear the talent perspective, because I think a lot of times people think bigger is better all the time, and there are different advantages that every community has, but we do have a niche in that life science biomedical industry sector here. And I think what's really exciting, and Dietrich, I may jump a question ahead or two, I'm sorry, but it's great that we know that, but your company was just recognized on a state level with a state level award through the NC Biotech Center. So tell us a little bit about that night. I was there, got to be a part of the suspenseful reveal. I think they counted down from 5 to 1, and you were like, wait a second, they're still in it. They're still in it. And our table got up and cheered, I think, when it was announced. But tell us about the award you just won and what that meant.
Well, thanks for mentioning that. And we are very proud of being the winners of a statewide competition here, sponsored by the North Carolina Biotech Center, an organization that has done a lot to develop the biotech footprint in North Carolina. And they realized they needed to do a better job of expanding that footprint, just as I did, outside of RTP, because there's a lot of good science going on outside. And the recognition of that organization to look broadly at companies from Asheville to Wilmington and everywhere in between and say, let's have these companies come together and talk to us about what they're doing, and let's put some money into these companies. And we received some grant funding as a result of this Pioneer win, again, which we're very flattered for. And simultaneously, we were able to get some funding from the North Carolina Biotech Center beyond the Bioneer competition. So it's been a really good year for Plakous and I think for the Triad.
That's amazing. And you won a total of $60,000.
That's
plus.
correct. $60,000 from the Bioneer competition. And then the Biotech Center gave us an additional $250,000 investment. So
that's exciting.
it came in a loan. I want to make sure if anyone's listening that it's a loan, but it is $250,000 nonetheless to help us achieve a lot of the manufacturing goals that we have.
Well, we're thankful for Nancy Johnston and our region here in the Triad at NC Bio, and it's fantastic to see that network. And that was a really great event to see all of these companies that are in that pioneering challenge, and for you to connect with other companies as well to learn from each other. Talk a little bit about one more question that I have, because I get excited. I also know Dr. Washburn. He's also somebody I see out and about often. He's involved in the community. Obviously, he's been involved in the lives of many family members here. What is having Dr. Washburn as kind of the founder being ingrained in Winston-Salem? How has that helped Plakous Therapeutics?
Well, number of ways. I mean, Scott, as you said, is very well connected, and he's delivered 1,000+ babies here in the Triad over the years. And I think he represents for us what is so special about Winston-Salem, because it's a city and it's got everything to offer that you want from a big city, but it's also a tight community. And being new to the area, Scott's network has embraced me and our company and very much made me feel like we can accomplish great things in Winston-Salem because of the people who are supporting him directly, indirectly, and beyond that, the infrastructure of the city. We've become members of Winston Starts, local incubator, which initially was cautious, I'll say, about bringing in long-term. You asked earlier, I didn't finish the response about the timeline, Deidre. It takes time, and Winston Starts was cautious about companies that weren't going to be maturing in 3 or 4 years, more like a baby. We take could be 5, 6, 8, or 9 years for a biotech startup to come to market, because you've got all the research, and then you've got the FDA preclinical work, and then you've got the FDA clinical trials to show that you're safe and effective. So it's a long timeline, but again, we've been embraced by the community here, and they're opening up new opportunities for us that I think will pay dividends back into the community. We're doing some work with Forsyth Tech, which is really exciting as well. They've got some great lab space over there. 2 of our employees are going to become mentors to the program there. We've got a biologist, Jenna Hojackney, who's terrific, and a young PhD, Michael Berger, who joined us from Virginia Commonwealth earlier this year. So we are being embraced, and we're looking to give right back.
And if I remember, his first day, Michael's right,
Yes.
was the night they won the award. He sat at our table, and so he was like, I'm the good luck charm. So, so that was a fun night.
You know what? He's been a good luck charm ever since as well.
That's fantastic.
Yes.
That's fantastic. So for everybody that's listening that wants to continue to help support you, how can they do that?
Well, we've got, you can come visit us at Plakous, and if you'd like to be updated on our progress, you can certainly at plakoustherapeutics.com leave your contact information. We'll be happy to provide you updates. More broadly, we are startup and we are raising money, and if there's anybody out there that is looking to make an investment that will change the lives of thousands of babies, but I will also say is a very good financial investment. We've got an opportunity that if we're successful in necrotizing enterocolitis, and I firmly believe that we will be, our revenue opportunity for the disease alone is about $650 million business. Wow. So we're not looking to become a $5 or a $10 million a year revenue generating business. Even though it's a rare disease, it's a $600 million revenue opportunity. Beyond that, as we go into osteoarthritis, an investment in Plakous in that disease, the revenue could be billions of dollars in that disease. So this is a small company with a very bright and very big future, both on its impact to the lives of people all over the world, and also financially for those who are willing to take a risk early.
Rob, I have one final question, and then Dietrich may want to take over and wrap us up. What does Plakous mean? What is that? What is the name mean?
Plakous is ancient Greek
I was wondering if it was Greek.
for
Yeah.
the placenta.
Okay.
Okay.
If you look it up on the internet today, in modern Greek, I think it's like a pizza.
Okay.
So you got to be careful. It is
Yikes.
ancient Greek. Ancient Greek.
It's not the
For
topping I
placenta.
want. on my
Placenta,
pizza.
yeah.
All right. That's helpful to know and
Yes.
to differentiate.
All
so thank
together
you.
different.
Well, okay, we'll just have another fun question since we're here.
Sure.
Since you've been to Winston-Salem, where is your favorite place to go eat?
Oh my goodness, my favorite place to eat. I would say Mojitos up on Trade Street. I'm a big fan. They've got this kind of this
The Cuban vibe.
Cuban vibe. It's great. I've had the Cuban chicken and the fried chicken, and they're both to die for. So
There you go.
So I know this podcast lives in time, right? So this may be a little bit of a time-sensitive question, but he's from Philadelphia, and the Phillies are in the World Series, and we're talking about food. I heard a story earlier about
you
Philly
did.
cheesesteak in Winston-Salem.
Yeah.
So can we tie on another? What's
Let's
the
tie-
best?
Sure.
Where's a good Philly cheesesteak in Winston-Salem?
I gotta say, Burke Street Pizza.
All right.
Yeah.
Do you agree? This is the man who ate the town, by
That's
the way.
right. This
Okay.
is big
Yeah. So
audience stuff.
I would go Burke Street. Before that, I would have said Uncle Buzzy's, which also was owned by Dave Hillman, who owns Burke Street. But they moved. I wish they would have moved the Uncle Buzzy's recipe to Burke Street, but they didn't.
Okay.
But Burke Street is, I think, still the best in town. Yeah.
Great.
There you go. You
Well,
picked
there
a
you
good
go.
one.
We are so glad you're here, and we're so glad that you stopped by today to share. I am just amazed with what you do. Thank you for sharing, and I look forward to seeing your success in the very near future. And who knows, maybe I'll invest because the arthritis, is kind of knocking on the door a little bit.
I know the feeling. Thanks, Teacher.
Thanks,
Mark
Rob.
and Tim, I really appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. And for everyone listening, until next time. We know you enjoyed this podcast today, so join us for the next episode of Greater Conversations. By the way, you can follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Be sure to smash that subscribe button. Also, be sure to visit our website at winstonsalem.com. The views and opinions stated in this podcast are solely those of the contributors and not necessarily those of our sponsors, distributors, or hosting companies. This podcast is copyrighted and cannot be reproduced without expressed written consent of Greater Winston-Salem, Inc. or your toast.